and waiting. Inshallah. Sister Yasmin will be up in a few seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Assalamualaikum.
Walaikum salam. How are you?
Alhamdulillah. I'm good. I'm very happy, very excited, very grateful. I love you, Sister Yasmin.
Super excited. I'm going to get my headset in because
Sure.
I had to do a little bit of adjusting here in my office to be able to use my tripod.
Okay.
So
I'm intrigued to ask you, what is that behind you?
So this is an entire wall of that we painted chalkboard to go with my theme of professor turned entrepreneur. So
Awesome.
For those who may not know, I used to teach and I taught for 14 years at the university. Well, first high school, and then, once I got my master's degree, I was teaching at the university level. And yeah, so this is kind of to reflect that I do love writing on chalk. And it actually worked, with the chalkboard, the paint that we did here. So yeah.
Awesome. MashaAllah. MashaAllah.
Thank you so much. I'm kind of looking at the camera and I'm like, it's slanted. I look slanted. Okay. All right. Can you see me well?
Oh, I see you.
Hey, everyone. So excited to be here.
So, Alhamdulillah. Sister Raisa, she's saying her salams and she's saying an oldie and a newbie friend.
Yes, absolutely. Raisa is an amazing friend of mine.
Mashallah, mashallah. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Beautiful world. Yes. So, inshallah, today we will be talking about a lot of things. So I would like, so you're doing the talk, right? I'm just here just to see you talk. And it's amazing. I would love for you to let the audience know, what does a high performance coach do actually? And then inshallah, we'll get into positive toxicity and that culture, that mindset, and how to break it. Inshallah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm glad you're asking about what high performance coach, what it means in general, because the term itself can be really misleading. I personally even struggled with, I was like, do I want to even call myself that? But, because I am certified through an institute, and that is the title that we need to carry, where we have to be able to do that. So I always love to explain to people, there is this hustle world out there, right? There is this idea of like, you got to work your face off. You got to, if you want things to happen in your life, you got to really like make it happen, do whatever it takes. And I really disagree with that because I believe in hard work. Don't get me wrong. And I'm a recovering workaholic. I definitely do believe in hard work and the honor of that and, the beauty of it, but not at the expense of losing your soul. And I think that's really important, and when I say losing your soul, I mean like losing the joy in your life, losing the meaning in your relationships, losing just yourself within the work, right? And that's what happens, unfortunately, especially with, this is something, Arianna Huffington beautifully speaks about in her work, Thrive, in her book, Thrive. And also she has a book on sleep, like the importance of sleep, right? Which is so, I would say, underrated within the success world. Like a lot of people are like, oh, whatever, I'm good with 5 hours or 6 hours of sleep. And a lot of people kind of wear that like a badge of honor and kind of brag about how little sleep they got, but they're still, performing. And to me, it's like, it's such a sick mentality because our bodies were created, yes, work during the day, the night was made for rest, So I think getting back to the basics of that is really important. So high performance coaching, the way I have digested it and the way I coach my clients is really about, bringing that basic common sense into our daily lives. Yes, absolutely, doing our best and, like aspiring for excellence in everything we do. And at the same time, making sure that we are enjoying the things that we're doing, that we're absolutely present in our daily lives, within our relationships, that we are taking care of our health. We're not just like saying health is important, but we're actually prioritizing our health, our mental health, our physical health, our emotional health. So these are all, the beauty of the things that you just cannot encapsulate in just a title called high performance coaching. So
yeah, mashallah, mashallah. And plus, I was just going to say, oh, Sister Yasmin, teach me. It sounds like a myth. It sounds like a myth, having it all.
You know, I mean, the thing is, it's you never have it all. You know,
Yes.
it's not about having it all. It's not about climbing a mountain and saying, I've done it. Yeah, look at me. It's, you know, and that's something a lot of people misunderstand. You know, they're like, you know, I'm someone who shares things online quite vulnerably, right?
Mm-hmm,
Even
mm-hmm.
though I took kind of like a sabbatical during this, you know, virus, I am really not online as much as I was for the basic reasons. I just wanted to focus, you know, put the priority on while the kids are home from, you know, being in school, right? I have 3 children and just pouring a lot of love into them, making sure that they're doing their stuff, and also pouring a lot of love into people who have invested in working with me this year, right? I mean, when Corona hit, I already had, you know, I usually do my entire launches and stuff in December. So people had already invested in it, right? People spent a lot of money to be coached by me, and I took that as a huge responsibility. I was like, okay, I'm going to pour into my family and I'm going to pour into my clients. And social media is there. You know what I mean? It's going to wait.
Yeah.
It's there. I can get back to it, but I need to, you know, make sure that I'm pouring into the people who deserve it the most at the moment. So,
Yeah. I'll take a moment to let that sink in for myself.
yeah.
Social media is there. It's
Yeah.
okay. It's okay.
Yeah. And I know sometimes, you know, Erin, like when you have a platform, it doesn't matter if you have, you know, 500 people or 5 million people, you are responsible for that audience, right? Because you have kind of put yourself out there to say, hey, I'm doing something to inspire others,
Mm-hmm.
to help others, you know, live their best lives, right? So whatever the platform might be. But having said that, you know, it doesn't mean you're going to kind of like, you know, because a lot of people are like, well, but you're so, you know, you're a public figure. You've put yourself out there. I'm like, yes, I did. And I will continue doing that. But I cannot serve, you know, if I am depleted. So
That's
making
true.
sure that you take the time to rejuvenate and not feeling bad about that time and coming back stronger, you know, more fulfilled, and just really being able to pour into people, because you just can't pour from an empty cup, right? So
Absolutely. Alhamdulillah. So
yeah.
what is positive toxicity? How does that play? Like, I've seen it firsthand, but I would like to hear your input, your outlook to it, and then maybe I can
Yeah.
relate.
Yeah, I actually want to mention, yeah, there is something as positive toxicity. And at the same time, I know that a lot of people are like, well, you know, like I'm going to talk about the two
Yeah,
sides of the coin, okay?
definitely.
Because I think it's really important, because a lot of people may misunderstand
Mm-hmm.
and say, well, you shouldn't be like so, you know, always happy and smiling. Like I'm one of those people. When I wake up, right, and I'm excited for this new day, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
and as Muslims, you know, for those who may not be Muslims, welcome to the conversation. One thing I want to share, one of the prayers we say when we wake up is to thank the Lord, right, for another day, because it is a
Absolutely.
blessing, right? I mean,
Yes.
we could have died in our sleep, right?
Absolutely.
So that in and of itself is a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the challenges we face during that day are part of life. And I think embracing the challenges in a way that allows us to, you know, we have this term in high performance world, we say honor the struggle, right?
Honoring the
And it
struggle.
comes I think from that whole, like, you know, marine world, maybe, you know, of like embrace the suck, you know, because that's a term that, you know, that's, you know, for anybody who was in military or the Marine Corps or anybody. So that being said, honoring the struggle is not positive toxicity. It is, no matter what the day may throw at you, no matter what the week or the year may throw at you, you are able to overcome that by saying, I'm here, my heart is still beating, and I am going to strive to do my best amidst the
Absolutely.
chaos, right?
Yes. Yes.
So I'm the kind of person, you know, I'm at the gym and, you know, I'm excited. I'm one of those weird people who go to the gym and like, oh my God, so good. You know, I'm like always smiling. And one of the ladies who checks us in, she actually asked me, she said, I ask you, whenever I ask you, how are you doing? You always say, awesome. How are you? She's like, do you really mean that? I said, yes. Now, that doesn't mean I'm not having a bad day. I have bad days like everybody else, but I don't let the bad moment turn into an entire bad day, right?
Right.
So there are bad moments that may happen. I mean, I have kids, right?
Yeah.
Like kids give you a hard time sometimes, right? I mean, so many things can happen in your day that may throw you off, but don't let the moment turn into this whole day of being like, oh my gosh, the whole day sucks. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think sometimes that's what humans, you know, as humans, we may tend to do.
Absolutely.
And so I think that's what I want to address. Like you could be in a, you know, you could be struggling and still feel amazing. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Because you have
How?
found, okay, so, all right. So this is kind of a deep thing, right?
Yeah.
Um, and we're going to talk about the toxic positivity. You know, we're going to talk about that in a second. But things could be going wrong, right? You could be going through bankruptcy. You could be going through a divorce. You could be going through a health crisis. But ultimately, once you boil it down into, you know, checking in with yourself, honoring whatever the struggle is, feeling it, right?
Yeah.
Crying about it. Like I'm absolutely for the whole idea of feeling the feelings, right? Pausing, honoring it, and staying away from things that are triggering that, right?
Yeah.
So if for instance, right now the elections are happening, you know, so constantly checking the feed, it's not going to solve any problem because we're still waiting on those 6 states. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Oh.
Yeah. And they're not going to go away. Like, even if you stay up at night, like I slept at 9:30, you know, every single day I sleep at 9:30 now that Isha is late and I mean, early anyway. And I'm just like, it's not going to change anyway, even if I stayed up till midnight. Nothing is going to change.
Nothing changes.
But then I'm losing sleep, you know? So I think that's a good example of like not letting, I mean, that can be really anxiety inducing. And I am someone, you know, over the last couple of years, I have struggled with panic attacks. I have struggled with anxiety for the first time in my life, you know, and with certain things, you know, that have happened. So having said that, understanding what triggers are around you and not going into that.
Right.
So if someone is in a toxic, let's say they're in a toxic relationship, right? And I know there are people here, like I know Raisa is here. She's an amazing coach when it comes to people, you know, who are going through like a really toxic relationship or even going through divorce and how to thrive through that, right? So I think she would be an amazing person to talk to as well. But what I want to talk about is like, let's say someone is going through a toxic relationship. It could be a romantic relationship. It could be between siblings. It could be between, you know, parents
and children. Yeah.
And understanding that sometimes, you know, putting the reality in front of you, right? And understanding there are certain things that, you know, we cannot control.
Absolutely.
We cannot control other people.
Yes.
That's beyond our control, right? We cannot control what our mom would say or what our dad would say, what our spouse may say, what our kids may do, right? But we can control our reaction to everything that's happening. So I think knowing that no matter what anybody can do, no matter what anybody can say, you still control your feelings.
Yeah.
And sometimes those feelings are emotional and just crying and, you know, being angry. Those are all okay.
Yeah.
I think that's where we miss it. I think we misunderstand that, okay, if I'm feeling really sad, then that's a bad day. It's not.
Yeah, it's not.
It's part of the feeling. It's part of living. If you're feeling angry and you're just frustrated, it's part of life. So taking that moment to honor and doing whatever it takes for you at that moment to get into a better mood. Like for me, I have my strategies for dealing with anxiety, dealing with stress, right? If I feel any kind of like frustration or anxiety building up, immediately one of my first things is to get dressed, go out for a walk.
Okay.
Right?
That's good. Yeah.
I feel blessed to live in NC. We have a lot of beautiful scenery around.
Yeah.
But even when I lived in New York City, in the middle of the buildings, right? Apartments and all of that, I would still get out and walk around the block.
Right.
Because walking, moving, it just releases those endorphins, right?
Right.
So it's about having that strategy. Like, what do you do when there's an emergency? Kind of like having that fire. If there is a fire, you have that escape plan. What is your strategy when an emergency strikes?
Yeah.
I think dealing with that is really important. So, yeah.
Absolutely, mashallah.
So I hope that answers the question, but I do want to talk about toxic positivity.
It definitely answers the question because, like you said, movement. Your emotion will pass, and if you can have that movement, you can sit in that emotion for some time while you're moving in your thoughts or in your body. And if it's physical, then alhamdulillah, like you said, the body pumps up the endorphins and you're able to get it out of your system. And that particular incident should not define the entire day.
Yes.
Should not. Yeah.
And I think that's where also, like, when we know that we need help, that's when we go to professionals. I think it is high time that we absolutely get rid of this topic of, like, this taboo that therapy or, counseling or whatever is not, a lot of people have a taboo in their minds. To them, it's like, well, I'm not crazy or I don't have problems. I'm like, everybody needs therapy. You know what I mean? Everybody who has a heart, everybody who has a heart needs therapy. There is nothing wrong with that. I mean, just like people go to the doctor when they have some sort of an illness, right? Why is it that we make it such a bad thing to have a therapist? I have some amazing therapist friends. I mean, I am always, I'm always hiring someone whenever there is a need for that.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. I think the idea that spending on your self-care is basically luxury and not a necessity, that also kicks in. People don't understand how important it is to be in that safe space for oneself, and so that we can be a safe space for especially our immediate family, because they are the ones 100%. Who are getting beaten down because of our emotional whatever it is that we're going through.
Exactly. And I think more people would be, I think the biggest thing is to become whole for yourself so that you can show up as your whole self in all of your relationships, right? And to me, that's always been a priority, because I know when I am fully alive, it reflects on my husband, it reflects on my children. And so for me, that is a priority. And whenever I feel like I'm not, together, I'll take that. I have the luxury to take the day off. I have the luxury to be able to say to my clients, listen, I am taking my mental health break day today. And I have those days, and I've taught my clients that mental health day, when you really feel like you have overworked yourself and you just really need a break, you take that day off. And it's not laziness, you know what I mean? It's not. And that was something I really had to struggle with, because I'm the kind of person, I cannot sit still for like 5 minutes, So I had to learn to sit still and meditate. And just to try to take those deep breaths. And I'm one of those fidgety people in yoga classes, always fidgeting, But I am learning to stop fidgeting and take a deep breath and learn to be there and be still.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Okay, so to the next part of it.
Yes. Now, the toxic positivity, the real toxic positivity is when someone is forcing their emotions, you know, let's say they're sad or angry or frustrated or, you know, any of those negative emotions, which I don't believe any emotion is really negative. It's emotion, right?
Right,
It's
right.
given to us by our creator, and it's okay for us to have those emotions.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, whenever you have those things, to suppress it and to pretend like, oh, it's okay. So it's basically wearing a mask,
Yes,
right?
yes,
That's toxic positivity.
absolutely.
Now, now, it doesn't mean that you should be sulking the whole day and letting the entire world know that your day sucks.
Right,
No, that's also not a good thing, right?
right,
But
right.
it's also not wearing a mask,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
right?
So those are two
And
extremes. I'm sorry to cut you. So,
yeah,
and I think the people who sulk all day and tell the entire world that it's everybody else's fault and not theirs, they are also in a mindset where they think that they deserve better or they're higher somewhere. And the person who
hmm
is wearing a mask, and I think women, majority, they do that, that they wear this mask just to be present in that social
hmm
circle, but and they're running empty, like you said, running
hmm
empty on their own emotional set, but they have that. The thought just came, so I have
Yeah.
to say,
And Brene Brown talks about that. You know, women have so much more to deal with. You know, if you
yeah,
read any of Brene Brown's
yes,
work, for all the audience out there, right?
yeah,
She talks about this. You know, for men, it's only two things. Actually, really one thing: never be seen weak,
yes.
right?
That's how the society has taught us, right?
But
Yeah.
for women, it's so many other layers.
Layers.
And to be able to really be like truly in tune with that,
Mm-hmm.
with yourself, and be so confident that
Mm-hmm.
you're just like, to be able to unpeel those layers basically
Yes.
is, it's a lot of work,
It
you
is.
know. It
Absolutely.
is a lot of work,
It is.
but it's so fulfilling too, right? It's so fulfilling. I think not wearing a mask and trying your best to be who you are, trying your best to be, you know, I mean, that goes into a totally different topic. But, you know, talking about toxic positivity is like telling someone, well, cheer up, you know, come on, cheer up. Like things could have been worse, you know?
Oh
And
my God, I hate
and
that statement.
I know. And I'm just like, just shut up. You know what I mean? Like, please, like, just don't say that. Um, or in religious circles, you know, and this could go into religious,
Yes. Yes.
abuse, you know,
Yes. Be
saying,
grateful.
well, it's because, you know, you don't pray on time, or it's because, you know, you need to like, whatever that they're not doing well in their deen,
Yeah.
throwing that in their face, and kind of in a way even suggesting that everything that's happening is because they're not religious enough. And I'm like, that's religious abuse.
That is absolutely that is.
And it's going to push someone further away from their faith, which
Mm-hmm.
is in its beautiful form. It's so pure,
Yeah.
right? Without any of the cloud that humans can bring to it,
Yeah.
right? It's so pure.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, toxicity just in itself, it's, you know, you need to be aware of it, right? And sometimes we do that to ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you are feeling like you're suppressing your feelings, that you are pretending to be better, and just to fit, you know, the environment,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's time to realize that it doesn't mean you're going to throw a big fit and let everybody know how frustrated you are, but you just don't have to be in that environment at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I think that's really important too. Like, if you are just not feeling well, it's good to take the time to yourself to feel better,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I think that's really important.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. So
Yeah.
so basically, okay. So in my mind, the toxicity, the positive toxicity was where you crumble yourself under the pressures of I need to do all of these things, and I need to be
Mm-hmm.
happy about them, and I need to be in order about with them, and maybe I'll
Mm-hmm.
develop habits along the way and focus more and be in like that, you know, in that zone all the time, and just,
Mm-hmm.
and then I think you started with that if you are not catering to your own self and you're not catering to your immediate family, and
Mm-hmm.
it's becoming hard for everybody to you know breathe even, that is the toxicity
Yeah.
of being in, because Sister Yasmin, I really want to learn how to be able to balance my homeschooling life, my entrepreneur life, my me as a wife, giving time to my husband, giving time to my children,
Yeah.
giving time to the house. I know we talk about this all the time, but then there are these minor things that we forget. So if you would just give like on top of your head, like 3 things to do daily.
Yeah, I love it. Well, first of all, I think identifying what are things that can be delegated and what are things that has to be done by me, right? Because look, as an entrepreneur, you already have a lot of things on your plate, right? As a mother, you have a lot of things on your plate. As a wife, you have things on your plate, right? So prioritizing the things, like for instance, spending quality time with your husband, no one else can do that but you, right? That
We
can't
don't
be
want
delegated.
anybody else doing that.
Exactly. Spending quality time with your children, it can't be delegated. You can't just tell your husband, you know what, spend time with them for me. No, he needs to spend time with them, and you need to spend time with them, right? However, cleaning of the house can be absolutely delegated. And I know this is something that, you know, a lot of people struggle with. You know,
I
a lot
ask
of
my
people.
children to do that. I'm like, why did I give birth to you? Come on. No, I
That's
mean like
right.
in a joking way, but yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a valid point.
It's a very valid point, and I know, like, I know sometimes people might think, and I know, look, I'm not saying that if someone cannot afford it, right? I'm not talking about that. But even, I know, even in points in my life where it was difficult to pay someone to help out in the house, for me, that was something I saw as sadaqah.
Right.
You know, I saw it as charity. First of all, the lady who was helping me, I mean, God bless her soul. I don't know where she is. She was in New York. Really, I have prayed for that woman for so much, because she has allowed me, you know, I was doing my master's. I was teaching at the school, and I had 2 little kids. My boys at the time were 4 and 18 months.
Wow.
So if I didn't have her help, I don't know how I would have done everything. I probably would have really drained myself physically, mentally, emotionally, and it would have reflected on my family. It would have reflected on my family,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
So whatever I was paying her, to me, it was like, you know, once a week she was coming and she was tidying up the house, scrubbing everything in detail. That was easier to maintain for us as a family than us trying to like clean everything, because both my husband and I, we were working to be able to provide for our kids, right? So that being said, prioritizing things, you know, for me at that time, I had very little, but I was like, well, look, I'm just not going to buy fancy clothes. I'd rather pay someone to clean my house. That was my priority, you know?
Right.
So money that I would have maybe spent on more clothing, it was going to someone to, you know, so I think understanding the things that you can delegate.
Right.
That's number one.
Okay.
Because that's going to release burden from your shoulders, because you can't do it all and you're not supposed to do it all. You know,
Absolutely.
it's time to stop wearing that superhero cape.
Yeah.
You know, I believe in superheroes, and I, you know, like I do love the concept of like, yes, we can, but not at the expense of killing yourself.
Yes. Yes.
You know,
thank you for saying that.
We're not superheroes, and we are not supposed to be doing it all.
No.
We want to focus on things that matter, you know? So for me, if I'm going to be neglecting, you know, like in Ramadan, for example, if I'm going to be neglecting my prayers or my Quran for the day, and I'm going to be like cooking up a feast every night, that defeats the purpose.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
I'd rather cater maybe that night, you know, if
Yeah.
I'm really feeling tired, or just, you know, make something simple. So that being said, I think understanding the delegation, that's number one. Number two, really scheduling those things in, you know, because whatever gets scheduled is whatever gets done. So for me, I like to schedule, you know, those date nights. I like to schedule dates with my children. I like to do it with each child, because we have 2 teenagers. Yeah, I mean, because there's such a difference in age. You know, we have a 6-year-old, and then we have like a 16-year-old and a 19-year-old, you know? So their needs are different. And to be able to give them that time, that attention that they deserve, at least on a weekly basis, that's like it, to me, it's like, if I can't
It's a
find that in my
must.
weekly schedule,
Yeah.
why did I even have them? You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
my point.
Yeah.
It's like, why did you have them if you can't even find that in your daily, in your weekly schedule?
Absolutely.
So, and quality versus quantity, you know, it's not about like really making sure that the time that we spend with our loved ones, that we're putting away the phones,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we're really connecting.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just like connecting, you know, oh, you know, taking an Instagram shot, oh, date night. Like, no, like really have a date night. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
the public doesn't know when I have a date night. I don't share that.
Yeah.
That is none of
Not to be serious.
anybody's
Business.
business.
Yes.
It really isn't.
No.
To me, those things are precious when they are private,
Yeah.
you know, and the whole world doesn't need to know it. Now, I'm not saying, look, you want to share it, maybe that's part of your brand, go for it, right? But really, it really takes away from that joy of that
There
moment.
should be a boundary, I think, for entrepreneurs like us. Like there should be a boundary. There should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or at least don't share real time. Like
Yeah.
maybe take pictures and then put your phone away. Don't
Yeah.
try to share those updates real time.
Yeah.
Enjoy that time with your loved ones, you know? And I really believe in taking, you know, at least like 4 times a year, like every quarter, taking some time off, going off the grid. You don't have to go on a magical tropical vacation, you know, even though I would love to do that 4 times a year.
Inshallah.
But even during Corona times, you know,
Yeah.
for us, like we took away the time to just do a road trip, get away, go somewhere, even when we couldn't fly, you know? So I think there's always something to be done. Just going out in nature and walking, you
Yes.
know,
Yeah.
taking the weekend off, not doing any work. Those are things that will recharge us. And again,
Absolutely.
when we are recharged, our relationships thrive. I
Absolutely.
believe in that.
Yes, that's the golden rule. I believe in that as well. And thank you so much for bringing this to, you know, to attention, inshallah. I hope everybody who is listening and who will listen will definitely take good takeaways. Sister Raisa, thank you
I
so
hope
much.
so.
We had such good comments, and she just kept adding on to what you were saying. And
Yes.
it made a whole lot of a good difference, mashallah.
I love
So,
it. I love it.
alhamdulillah.
Thank you, Raisa. You're the best.
Alhamdulillah, Jazakallahu khair. My husband just joined in, Sister Yasmin. Assalamu alaikum.
Yay.
Yeah,
I hope he catches the replay.
yes, he will definitely.
Yeah.
Inshallah.
Thank you.
I would love to see more of you on live.
Yes.
Again.
Yes, I will be doing, actually, I'll be doing like a weekly kind of a program. So just working
awesome.
on that.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
starting in 2021. So
that's awesome.
That's coming up.
And he says I'll definitely catch up on the recap. So, okay,
awesome. Yay.
Thank you so much, Sister Yasmin. Have a great Friday, inshallah. Thank you again for your time and for all the gems. I hope it will benefit everybody who will be listening. Take care.
Yeah, and thank you for the work that you're doing.